Welcome to another segment of ACRP TV. Today our spotlight is on how Brexit will change clinical trials in the UK and Europe. My name is Michael Causey. I'm the editor-in-chief here, and we have our on the spot and on assignment correspondent. You're there for us. We're very lucky to have with us Lenitha Bishop, who's the head of DPOs at the DPO Center in jolly old London, England. So you're there to give us a good vantage point on the situation. Let me first off start asking you, Lenitha, just broadly speaking, what is the broad impact of Brexit here?
Oh, it is so broad. That's the thing. It's not just one element of it. It's the processing of personal data spans so many things. And that's the key impact is the transfer between organizations. They might be based in the UK, but they rely so heavily on, sub-processors or processes in the US or the EU without even recognizing that really. They might just log in thinking, it's just somewhere in the UK without realizing the implications around that processing and, what safeguards need to be put in place. And with Brexit looming and the UK at the moment with 4 weeks to go, not having an adequacy decision means that ultimately at the end of December, we're out. And you need to have a contractual adjustment to be able to safeguard the transfer going forward. And it's not as easy as just saying, we'll just appendix that to a contract. Most of these, most organizations have got a multitude of processes and that obviously then want to review it. And with them potentially other contractual elements to it. So the impact is immense. And what COVID has done is just shifted the focus away from, data protection to a degree, and businesses have tried to survive. And now we're, the clock is almost striking midnight, and here we are, potentially unprepared.
Now let's talk too about, there's a lot of confusion out there. You've alluded to it already, and a lot of unknowns in this. I mean, hey, this type of thing has never exactly happened before, but the UK is currently complying with a lot of privacy regulations, but that might change or might not. It's confusing, right? Can you explain what might happen in 4 weeks, in 5 weeks?
Exactly. So the UK, we exited the EU already at the end of January. So we're now in the transition period. And as part of that, we adopted many EU laws, of which the GDPR is one. So come the 1st of January, we will have a mirror version of the EU. The problem is over time that will change, it will diverge, and you'll have potentially a clinical trial running in Europe spanning the EU and the UK, but you'll have to comply with a slightly tweaked version. And then obviously you've got all the regulations in the US with the FISA and the Cloud Act that puts a different spin on it. And the question is probably, will the UK strike an agreement with the US outside of the EU? And then that could impact our adequacy decision again. So there's a lot of unknowns at the moment. And that's the challenge for us all. We're just sort of on the cusp of breaking free without really knowing what it means.
This is the wrong kind of new frontier. Talk about EU representation, because that's a bit of an issue too, or will be more going forward.
Yeah, definitely. So like I said, with the UK EU GDPR under Article 27, you need to appoint a representative if you don't have a presence in that country or in the EU. And the role of the representative is there to cooperate with the supervisory authorities, be that focal point for the data subjects, in their local language, ideally. And to maintain that records of processing activity. So it's a key element of those organizations outside of the EU, UK to be able to comply, because you don't have to be based here to be able to comply with the regulation. You only need to process EU data subject data. So obviously that's all anything around medical, clinical trial data is all within scope. Even if it is pseudonymized and the organization sits in the US, the fact that you've subcontracted an element out to your CRO in the EU, you still need to comply.
Yeah, before I let you go, final question. You've touched on this a little bit, but I wonder if you could talk a little bit more about the impact this might have on US sponsors working in the EU. I mean, what kind of representation might they need?
So they need to have that representative, and the steps to take is to, first of all, is to understand your cross-border transfers. So understand what data goes where, what your mechanism of transfer is, and then do a data protection impact assessment, which is a risk assessment of that processing, so that you understand, do you need to appoint a representative? Maybe you don't. Maybe you've got an entity that can do that for you, because a CRO could be that representative for you, but there's a risk that there be conflict of interest if there's a breach, or they might not have the necessary expertise. So those are sort of the key things to consider sort of at the beginning of the journey leading up to representation.
Fantastic. Well, we're lucky to have people like you to help guide us through this, because it sounds bewildering. This has been our ACRP TV spotlight on how Brexit will change clinical trials in the UK and Europe. Obviously, it's going to. Our guest has been Lenitha Bishop, who's the head of DPOs at the DPO Center in London. Lenitha, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much, Michael. It's been great to speak to you. Thank you for the opportunity.